Happy Thursday. Hope you're all well. And I'm back 2 nights in a row. What a treat. It's a miserable day out there, so hopefully that's working in my favour, and we're going to have lots of people tuning in and cooking along with me tonight. Yes, so it's a pleasure to be here tonight again with you. I don't know how many of you saw us last night. We were at the Eco Larder last night on Morrison Street, which was great. Thank you very much to everyone at the Eco Larder for hosting us there. And last night we went shopping for all the ingredients that we're going to cook today. So that's pretty cool. So tonight is the second part of our, let's call it our Eco Larder special this week. So tonight's part 2, where we're going to cook with all the lovely ingredients that we bought last night. So yeah, I'll be cooking along real time, and I'll be going at a steady pace. I say steady pace, that makes it sound fast. I'll be going at a leisurely pace. So you can cook along with me in your own kitchens and make this delicious roast cauliflower salad. So we're doing a roast cauliflower salad today, which is just perfect for, I was going to say, for this kind of like funny phase, springy phase where things are kind of, it's still quite cold, but you're starting to feel a little bit summery. However, if you're in Edinburgh, then today just 100% feels like winter. So luckily this is a warm salad. But I was going to say it's a roasted cauliflower salad, so it's actually perfect to kind of bridge that gap between kind of wintry stews and summery salads. So it's a really tasty one. And we're going fully zero waste for this one because we're going to use the entire cauliflower. I was pretty impressed actually. I put a poll up on my stories just earlier today asking who cooks with the whole cauliflower. And most of you said you did, so well done guys, I'm impressed. Because yeah, it's so tempting with a cauliflower, not tempting, but often I think a lot of people don't really know what to do with the other bits, and ingredient recipes normally say to use the cauliflower florets, so the sort of main part of the cauliflower. And there's often not many recipes floating around for using the stalk or the leaves, so we're going to use all of it today, which is pretty cool. Right, so for those of you who are cooking along with me today, if you are cooking along, give me a little chef emoji to let me know that you're cooking. And feel free to ask any questions as we go. Please do just pop any questions in the comment. I've got my eyes on the comments on both, whether you're following on the Eco Larders page or on New Norms page. I can see your comments popping up, so please do just pop anything in there if you've got any questions about any of the ingredients, if you want to make any swaps, or anything at all, just pop them in the comments. So if you are cooking along with me, like I say, let me know, give me a chef's hat, give me a wave if you're watching, and yeah, chat to me, please. It's much more fun when you chat. So first things first, get your oven on. I popped this in the event, so some of you might have already, but get your oven on to 180 degrees and get a saucepan of water on to boil. So a smallish saucepan of water, and that's for your lentils to cook them in, so get that onto the boil. Alrighty. Excellent, we've got some watchers, we've got some cookers, fantastic. Right, so before we get cooking, I'm just gonna do a whistle-top tour around the ingredients because you probably weren't all with me yesterday when I was shopping. So I'll just take you through the ingredients, and this makes enough for 2 people, 2 hungry people. I always cook for hungry people. Right, so first up, we've got the cauliflower. And we've got a nice, probably I'd call that a small cauliflower, and that'll be enough for 2 people. But one that's got a nice amount of leaves on it as well, because we're going to cook them. Then we've got 50 grams of spinach. If you don't have spinach, you could also use rocket or any other sort of leafy green veg. I quite like spinach for this one because it's a warm salad. It doesn't matter if it wilts a little bit because spinach looks quite good. Looks quite good. I was reading a comment there about loving my pans there, which made me say looks quite good. Thank you very much, Amy. I've got new pans and I love them. They're very non-stick too, which is good. So 50 grams of spinach, 150 grams of green lentils. Now these are dried green lentils, picked from the wonderful wall of pulses and lentils at the Eco Larder yesterday, which is just such a treat. I absolutely love cooking with beans and lentils and pulses and stuff. So that was brilliant to get to shop from there. So 150 grams of lentils. We've got a small red onion, a small carrot hiding in there. We've got a measly amount of fresh coriander here. I thought I had more in the fridge than I did, but just a small handful of fresh coriander. It's optional, you don't necessarily need to have that. A teaspoon of turmeric, a teaspoon of cumin, a teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of sesame oil, and the sesame oil is also optional. You could just use more olive oil if you like. 2 tablespoons of olive oil and a tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. And that's all you need. Pretty simple. So yeah, no wildly expensive or difficult to source ingredients here. All just pretty simple stuff. Oh, I should also say, if you're a fan of sultanas, if you like the flavour and texture of sultanas in curries, then I would suggest that you also get a handful, about 40 grams of sultanas, and that will be lovely in this recipe too. Personally, I'm not doing it because I just don't like it. So I'm going to opt out of that one. But if you like that taste of like sultanas in curry kind of taste, then I'd suggest that you pop them in here too. Right, I think that's it. Shall we get cooking? Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to, excuse me whilst I just move this out of the way. What was that? Some sort of like cartoon theme tune from the 90s that just popped into my head. What is it? Puppy Power. Puppy Power. What is that? I digress. But if you can remember what it is, please tell me, because that's going to annoy me. Right. First up, we're going to get our lentils onto the boil. So you want to get your water up to the boil before you put your lentils in, because you want to just pop them into boiling water and then bring them to a simmer. You don't want to boil them, because green lentils, the good thing about green lentils versus red lentils is they hold their shape, so they're perfect for salads. But they don't hold their shape quite as much as like brown lentils or pre-lentils, so you do want to cook them not too vigorously, otherwise they'll lose their shape. So once your water's up to the boil, which mine isn't quite, I'm just going to leave it another minute or so, then we're going to add our lentils. I would suggest it's worth rinsing your lentils before you put them onto the boil as well. So if you just pop them in a sieve, give them a rinse under cold water, you'll see kind of like a sort of starchiness come out of them. Not necessarily starchy. You can probably feel with most lentils you get a sort of, they leave a sort of not waxy, but they've got a slight feel to them. So you want to kind of rinse that off as much as you can before you pop them in the water. So that's my water come to the boil now, as you can see. So I'm just going to pop my lentils in there. So that's 150 grams of green lentils. And then I'm going to turn that down to just a simmer and let them cook. If you don't have green lentils, then you could absolutely swap it out for brown. They'll take a little bit longer to cook, but only like an extra sort of 5-10 minutes. Or you could use pre-lentils as well. I wouldn't suggest using red lentils, because red lentils kind of go to mush. They're best for like a dal or stew or something like that. Or if you also have a can of green lentils, you can use them to the conversion weight-wise. So if you're using 150 grams of dried lentils, that would be double the weight cooked. So that would be 300 grams of cooked lentils. But bear in mind, if you buy them in a can, that's the drained weight. So for example, a 400 gram can of green lentils, drained weight I think is about 250. So it's a bit of an awkward amount if you're using cans. It would be about a can and a half I'd chuck into. All right, so lentils are on. Next up, we are going to roast our cauliflower. So let's get this little guy over here and carefully, she says, ripping it, carefully take off the outer leaves of the cauliflower and put them to one side. We'll be coming back to these and we'll be roasting these as well, actually. All about the roasting today. Need a little bit of roasted vegetables when it's raining outside. That's just perfect, isn't it? So take these off. How's everyone doing today? Hope you've had a nice Thursday. Please do, if you've got any questions about other recipes that you can make with these things or anything like that, then just hit me up in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. So I'm just going to pop those leaves to one side. We'll come back to it. And then meanwhile, I'm just going to sort of cut out the stalk, basically. So just kind of cut in there and try and sort of just pop that out. Oh, like so. Pop that to one side as well, and we'll come back to it too. And then we're basically just going to either cut, or depends how you've cut it. These can sort of just be popped out with your hands. And you want these in just kind of like whatever size of florets you really like, to be honest. You can be as big or as small as you like, but you want them to be a fairly even size so that they cook in the same amount of time. I'm going to go relatively small here just so it doesn't take ages to cook. Don't want to bore you sitting waiting whilst my cauliflower is roasting. Okay. I'm just going to turn, if you just look at the lentils here, I'm just going to turn it down a little bit so that they're simmering. They're a bit vigorous there, so I'm just going to turn it down a wee bit. There we go. Right, so our cauliflower, we're now just going to pop into a roasting tray. And I try and get the flat, you've normally got like a flat edge of your cauliflower, depending on how you've cut it. If you sort of try to get that bit on the base of the tray, because then it'll brown off really nicely when it roasts, which is what you want. So just evenly space that on the roasting tray. And then we're going to sprinkle that with our turmeric and our cumin. So we've got a teaspoon of turmeric here. Just sprinkle it over, it gives it a wonderful orangey colour, which is just wonderful. And then a teaspoon of cumin. Lovely. And then about half a teaspoon of salt. Okay, forgot to say actually we should put a pinch of salt in our lentils as well. Not too much, just a pinch. It's just to sort of give them a little bit, take the edge off them. And then just a drizzle of olive oil in here as well. Beautiful. And then just give it a little bit of a mix around. You basically just want to get your cauliflower lovely and coated in colour and flavour. And then when it roasts, it'll just be beautifully tasty. And that'll all brown off lovely when it roasts as well, which is just perfect. Smells good. Smelling good already. Perfect. There we go. Then we're just going to pop that in the oven. Just going to settle down the bits that have jumped up because I kind of want, like I say, I want the flattish bit on the base of the baking tray so it browns nicely. Wonderful, let's get it in. And that'll only take about 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm just going to set the timer for 10 and then we can check it and give it a bit of a mix around if you need to. Careful not to wipe your hands on a white tea towel when you've been using turmeric because it'll never come out, which is what I just did. Whoopsie. Right, so next up, we're going to saute some onions. 1 onion, to be precise. So we're just going to peel it and then slice it. And then we're going to saute it in our lovely new pans. And that is, I'd recommend a red onion for this, but if you've only got a white onion, then that's totally fine. We're going to saute it and put it in with our lentils, so it's going to give a bit more flavour to the base of the lentils for this salad. So yeah, it really doesn't matter if it's white or red. Obviously, if you're using it raw, I'd suggest red because it's a bit milder, and I always think red onions is got a better taste raw than white. But we are cooking it, so don't fret too much. If you've got a white one, then that's all good. I'm probably being a wee bit generous, to be honest, on the amount of red onion here. A smaller one would be just fine. So if you've got a smaller one, then that will do the job. I'm just going to slice it in half and then do quite thin slices so it cooks quickly, but also because you don't really want massive chunks of onion in your salad. You want sort of it fairly fine. So you get the flavour of it, but don't really notice it all that much. Okay, wonderful. So for those of you who do cook with the entire cauliflower, tell me some of your recipes. How do you normally cook with it? I'd love to know. Right, so now into a small frying pan. You're not going to need to put a lot in here, so a small frying pan will do the job. I'm just going to do a wee drizzle of oil. Lovely colour of oil there. That is the lovely olive oil that I bought from the Eco Larder yesterday. It's got a wonderful colour to it. And into that we're just going to put our finely diced onion, finely sliced onion. Pop that in. And then we're just going to let that saute. Okay. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to grate the stalk of our cauliflower. So, and this is going to go in to the frying pan with the onion. And it's basically just bulking out the salad a little bit. So it's, this is similar to how you would make cauliflower rice. Does anyone ever make cauliflower rice? And there's lots of different ways you can make cauliflower rice as well. So if this is not how you normally make it, then there's a million other ways you can do it. But I tend to find with cauliflower rice, the best way is to just grate it like this and then just to saute it really quickly, because it doesn't take much cooking at all and quite a lot of water comes out of it. So if you saute it quickly, then it allows that water to kind of burn off a little bit as well, which is nice so it doesn't become too soggy. What brand of pots? I'm loving that the pots are getting love. Oh God, you know what? I can't remember. What I actually did was I spent a lot of time researching pots and pans and picked out the perfect ones. And I just couldn't bring myself to buy them because they were so expensive. But they were called Evergreen, I want to say. They're eco-friendly non-stick. So I didn't realize this, but a lot of pans that have a non-stick coating on them are actually quite bad for you in terms of there's quite a lot of toxins and stuff in it, and it's really not very good for the environment either, which I didn't realize. So that was eye-opening. So I wanted to buy these. I want to say Evergreen, but that might not be the name of them. But they were super expensive. I basically bought a rip-off brand on Amazon, but they still have the non-toxic coating, which is good. I'll find it. I'll put the link out once I find it. But so I didn't go all out. I was thinking of like basically remortgaging my home to buy new pans, and I thought better of it. Cool. So our onions are sort of starting to sizzle there, which is wonderful. And then you can also see, we'll just check in on the lentils. Simmering away there nicely. Just want to check in on them and make sure they're not over boiling. That's cool. You want to check in your lentils because you don't want them to, they will go to mush quite quickly. So you just want to make sure that they hold their shape. So they're not ready yet. There's still quite a bit of a bite in them. Lentils are ready basically when you bite through them and they're tender. So if there's still a bite in them and you can see white in the center, I'll maybe just, probably quite hard to demonstrate that on camera. But you probably can't see that, but you never know. There's a little center of white in there. So that means they're not cooked. I doubt you saw that, but worth a try. So we're going to wait until our onion has sauteed down and is softened before we add the cauliflower in there. Like I say, this is my favorite way to make cauliflower rice because yeah, a lot of people will do it in the microwave, just grate it, stick it in the microwave, and then done. Super easy, but I tend to find that it gets quite soggy if you do it that way. So by doing it in a pan, it kind of cooks off some of that water. All right. Patience is a virtue, my friends. I'm just going to pop that cauliflower to one side. And then whilst we're waiting, I'm going to get the base of the salad ready. So just got my wee salad bowl here. And into that, I'm just going to put our spinach leaves. You can chop them. In fact, I might chop them because these are massive. So I'm just going to roughly chop some of these spinach leaves, just because they're quite a mouthful, as they are. They look beautiful, though, don't they? Okay. Rocket would also be nice. I love rocket. I know it's got quite a strong flavour, but it'd be a flavour that goes quite nicely with this recipe. Or spring greens would be quite nice. So you know how you can get your pre-chopped spring greens would be quite nice in this as well. So whatever you've got. So that's our lovely greens in our salad bowl. And then I'm just going to top and tail, peel, and then we're going to grate our carrot as well. Just got a wee carrot here, but you can use a much bigger one and have lots more carrot in there if you like. Carrot not only, I think, tastes amazing in salads, but it also adds a lovely pop of colour. Excuse me. We're just going to grate that as well. And then we're going to pop that in the bowl raw. Lovely, lovely. Grated beetroot is another one that's beautiful in a salad. Little messy. Leaves you with some pink fingers, but nothing wrong with that. Okay, so we're just going to add the carrot in there. And see how things are coming on at the cooker. Nice. So that onion is softening down nicely now. I think I'm just going to let that cook a little bit more before we add the cauliflower. And then check the lentils again because they weren't too far off. Perfect. One minute. They're very nearly done. Okay. Easy recipe tonight. I feel like I'm normally flapping around trying to get everything done in time, but actually this one's fairly chilled. Should we check in on the cauliflower quickly? Well, that's us over halfway, so we'll just go in and have a wee look. Look at that colour. Doesn't that look good? Still quite hard, so I'm going to pop it back in, but that is starting to look beautiful. Pop that back in. I'm actually just going to turn the heat up to 200 just because I'm conscious of time to make sure it gets nice and cooked in time with our lentils. All right, so our onions are looking most marvellous. So at this point, I'm going to add our grated cauliflower stalk in there. Oh. And then just give that a mix through. And that will basically kind of just disintegrates down into nothing, to be honest. And it doesn't really taste, doesn't really give it a huge amount of taste either, but it just kind of bulks it out. And obviously we've got a lovely cauliflower taste with the roasted cauliflower anyway. It just kind of fits really nicely with the salad as a whole. So we're just going to pop that in there, give it a good stir around. Might add a little bit extra oil in there to make sure. Obviously, I don't quite trust my non-stick pans. Right, and now we're going to drain our lentils. So I'm just draining them over here just above the bowl, but just drain them above your sink. And then what I would highly recommend, sorry, 1 second. You don't need to see the draining in shot. It's all really not all that exciting. But what I would highly recommend is that you rinse them in cold water. You want, whilst it's a warm roasted cauliflower salad, you want the lentils to be quite cold because they're going to go directly on top of the spinach and the carrot and the sort of cold salad ingredients. So if you can cool them down, then it just works really quite nicely, and then it's just the cauliflower that's the warm part. So I would recommend that. We're also going to chop some fresh coriander and mix it in throughout here, so it will save that from wilting as well. So I'd rinse them under cold water as you're draining them. So I'm not doing that here just because I'm not by a sink, but that's what I'd recommend you do. I'm just going to pop them over here to rest whilst everything else is getting ready. For those of you who are cooking along, please do shout if I'm going too fast, or if you need any more instruction or anything, or have any questions, then just holler. Right, so next up, we are going to get another wee baking tray, and we're going to pop our cauliflower leaves on there. So you can basically use all of the cauliflower leaves. You can cut off anything that is maybe doesn't look quite so appetizing. So sometimes the base of some of the outer leaves don't look as wonderful, but generally speaking, they're pretty good. You don't want them to be too tight, so make sure they've got plenty of room. If they're too tight, then they will sort of steam rather than roast. So make sure they've got space. Like, I'm kind of maybe slightly too tight here. Don't go any tighter. And if they are, just get another baking tray, or another baking tray, or a bigger baking tray, basically. Right, and to this, we're then just going to add a sprinkle of salt. There we go. And also a drizzle of olive oil. Go easy on the olive oil. It's really just, oh, you don't really need that much at all. And then give it a bit of a shuffle around, just so they're kind of, it's not all sitting on one leaf. You want to just make sure that they're kind of lightly oiled. Actually, if you have one of those olive oil spray bottles, that's actually perfect for these. But if not, then just basically kind of almost massage the oil in a little bit, so it's just a really light coating across it all. All right, and then we're just going to pop them in, and this is where you want to go in quite hot. So I've turned the oven up to 200 to finish off the cauliflower, but that's perfect for roasting the leaves as well. And we're just going to pop that in. Marvelous. All right. Okay, so our sauteed onions and cauliflower is looking lovely here. That is perfect. Just turned it off there so we don't starting to char a little bit on the bottom there. But you see, it's not soggy at all. All that water from the cauliflower stalks just kind of cooked off, which is perfect. And so what we're going to do now is we're just going to mix our lentils into our onions and onions and cauliflower. So I'm just going to turn that off and take it off the heat. And then what I would recommend, given that you will have already cooled your lentils, I'd pop this into a separate bowl rather than put it direct into the frying pan. But either way, it doesn't really matter too much. You just want to mix all this together so that the taste, that beautiful taste of the onions and cauliflower is mixed in throughout the lentils. You get a beautiful oniony, cauliflowery, lentil-y base of your salad. Marvelous. Okay. Just going to give that a wee taste. Yeah, beautiful. Really simple, but really tasty. And just with that pinch of salt on the lentils, it kind of takes the edge off them as well. So set that to one side. Now, if you're using fresh coriander, give that a wee chop now, my meager amount. If you are using it, I'd recommend just a little bit more than that. Like I say, one of those moments where I thought, sure, there's loads of coriander there. No. Give that a nice chop, and then just pop that in with your lentils and onions. And it just gives it a nice little flavor and also a lovely little splash of color. Okay. Next up, what is next up? We're waiting for our cauliflower to roast, basically. We can make the dressing for our leaves, which is super simple. All we're going to do is a bit of sesame oil, a bit of balsamic, and a bit of black pepper. And if you don't have sesame oil, then you can absolutely just use olive oil. But personally, I just really quite like the taste of sesame oil. It gives it a little bit of extra flavour. So I said a tablespoon. I don't even know if you need that. I'm just going to measure it here so we can, yeah, so about a tablespoon of sesame oil. A tablespoon of balsamic vinegar. And just a pinch of black pepper. And then just give that a wee stir. Lovely, lovely. Sorry, I'm sniffing away here. And then either use some tongs or just get your hands in to mix through your carrot and celery. If you're using sultanas, then pop them in here now as well. And then just dress that with your lovely dressing. And then just give that a wee bit of a mix through as well. Oh, I've forgotten a plate to serve my salad on. See if cameraman will oblige. The banging on behind me. Actually, we've been very lucky, guys, because we're having a bit of a nightmare before we went live today, because I've got a leaky roof situation, which is not what you want today of all days. So we had builders on the roof and leaks through the ceiling and all sorts. So I'm feeling quite glad we've actually made it to this point and nothing's come plummeting through the ceiling. Watch this space. Right, I'm going to go and check the cauliflower now. Woo. Steamy. Look at that. How good does that look? Oh, pinging it across the floor. But so it's just charred. It's almost like if you make crispy kale, that's kind of the similar sort of thing you're looking for, is to get that crispy outside of the leaves. But the stem that running down the middle of the leaf will still have some juice in it and it'll have still a bit of bite in it. So it's just super, super tasty. I don't know why we throw them out, honestly. So I'm just gonna give them a taste. You got that crisp on the edge of the leaf, but actually still quite a really nice taste of the cauliflower in the stem there. So that is wonderful. Exactly what we want. And then our florets. Beautiful colour. You just want to stick a fork in me. I'm done. Not quite done, actually. The little ones are probably done. Yeah, so the littler ones are done, and the bigger ones could do with a wee bit more time. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the little ones for plating up because everything else is ready, and we'll show you the finished piece. Got some questions here. Beige, you've got some salad dressing made up with olive oil, balsamic vinegar and mustard. Yeah, perfect. That'll do absolutely fine. I've kind of got my go-to salad dressing that I just kind of do time and time again, which is a combination of either an oil, vinegar, and either a mustard or lemon juice or something. So that's perfect. Whatever you normally like is absolutely fine. And Amy's saying, is there a difference between sultanas and raisins if adding? Sultanas are kind of plumper and juicier, I want to say. To be honest, Amy, I'm actually not entirely sure. I'm not a fan of either, and I don't cook with them all that often. But my rule of thumb, personally, is sultanas. I tend to use sultanas for savoury, and raisins for sweet. But that's not by any means the actual difference. I think it's to do with its juiciness or plumpness. Anyone who's got the answer to that, please chime in, because, as you can tell, I don't know. Right. So, we're done. All to do is to plate up. So get yourself a nice big plate, and we're going to first up load on our lovely fresh salad leaves. Pop them on the bottom. In the center, and then around the edges I'm going to put some of our lovely crispy roasted cauliflower leaves, which I absolutely love. And also there'll be loads of these, depending on how leafy your cauliflower was, you'll probably have quite a few of these left. But I have to be honest, most of the time, these never make it to the main dish for me. I tend to snack on them whilst I'm actually cooking because they're just so yummy. And then we have our lentil and onion mixture, which I've not really got a suitable serving thing for this either. So we're just gonna put a nice, depending on how hungry you are, a nice load of this in the center. This is the really filling bit of it. Delicious. And then finish it off with some of our tasty cauliflower florets, which I think we've proven tonight is not necessarily the best part of the cauliflower. Yum. Go to town as much or as you like. I was going to say or as little, not as little. I think we need a little bit in the middle there, don't we? Finish it off. Yay! Pretty. All right. And that is us. Thanks very much for watching, guys. If you've got any, hopefully I've not missed any of your questions. If you've got any questions, then please do ask away. I'll reply in the comments if you've gone before I get them. And hopefully, those of you who are cooking along, enjoy it. If you want any more delicious plant-based recipes, then check out our blog, which is at newnorm.co.uk, or we've got lots of other cook-along recipes on our Facebook page, which is newnorm.plantbased meal plans, for those of you who are watching from the Eco-Larders page today. So yeah, we do a cook-along every week, so we're normally on a Monday evening at 6:30, so if you're interested in finding out any of our other recipes, then join us then, and I look forward to seeing you. All right, thanks very much for watching, guys. Bye.